All right, welcome back to the Tul World podcast. I'm your host, David Jude. I'm here with Master Jew.
Hello, Mr. Jew.
Hello. All right, this week we got a seminar coming up hosted by Tul World. It's our assistant instructor seminar, not to be confused with the IIC.
Yeah.
Well, so hopefully nobody's thinking that. What are we doing with this seminar? Well, we have Master Van Zile. She's a 7th Dan, and she is going over different ways to help different types of students, right? And I think each student learns differently. They might have things that they need to work on. And so she's going to cover different ways of how she approaches different types of students, right? And again, this is not a ITF certified event. This is a Tul World event hosted by Master Van Zile.
No, it's hosted by us.
Sorry. Hosted by Tul World. And it's going to be on March 1st.
Yeah.
And check the time.
So that's really interesting because sometimes the names are a little deceiving, right?
Right.
What is it? International Instructors Course. And so some people think, oh, does that make me learn how to teach? You know, because it's how do we teach somebody? Mm-hmm. Actually, it's not. It's more like giving you the information so that you have things to teach. How you teach is totally different. I don't think that's a bad course, actually. Is it trial and error? How about like teachers? Do they actually go to a class and tell you how to teach?
Well, you have to have a degree.
Well, you have to have a degree, but that doesn't tell you how to teach. They give you I've never taken that course or that program. Yeah, I think everyone has maybe a different style of teaching, or they have to present something, right? Mm-hmm. And Master Van Zile, who has a lot of background with childhood development, or she has backgrounds with social development, those kind of things. And so we do encounter different types of personalities, maybe even handicapped people. Mm-hmm. So how do we help them? Mm-hmm. And right. I think that's really what she's going to be talking about. I've listened to it before. It's very good.
Okay, yeah. It's always good to get different ideas on how you approach for the same activity. Let's say functional punch. It's always good to get this maybe a little different spin on how to teach it or how you approach it with kids, right? But let's go through yours.
Just do it.
Yeah, well, join the seminar, but
just do it.
You could join virtually. Now, what we're going to talk about here is how would you approach different students? So we have a mixed class. I think that's pretty common, especially with like ITF schools.
Is it?
I don't know.
Maybe
not, but let's just say you do have a mixed class.
Like what do we do?
White belt to green belt, let's just say, right? And
white belt to black belt?
Yeah, white belt to black belt. And so you have different, all different ages, different ranks. But let's say you had somebody that maybe doesn't pick up things as easily, right? There's some kids that can go, you show it to them and they know it, right? And then you have other kids that it just could take a long time, right? And we all move at a different pace. But so how would you approach that kid?
Well, first of all, I think when you look in general, right? The general population and how you might treat them. So in other words, if you have a bunch of 5-year-olds, maybe 5 to 8, maybe 5 to 10, whatever, would you teach them a little bit different than an adult? And
well, yes, of course,
the answer is yes, there is, because
maybe not in Russia. They just slap them or something.
Sit down and listen.
Yeah.
What does that word mean? I don't understand. What do you mean I have to explain that? Oh boy. But in general, right? I think that the way you would teach a child is going to be different than you would teach an adult. Mm-hmm. Probably. Just maybe a child can relate to animals. You hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Right. You do need to know teaching those groups differently. And I think what we're talking about here is how do you handle different types of people who actually might be more mature, maybe not mature, or has a faster learning ability. Mm-hmm. And just understanding the type of student that you have at that moment. Mm-hmm. What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I think it comes down to a lot of patience.
It's always about patience.
Yeah. Patience with the student. So I think you've had different students throughout your lifetime that had maybe handicaps, but yet they still amazed you.
Right.
Right. And maybe you could go through them and how did you help them, or things that you noticed between them.
Well, when you talk about handicap, maybe someone that has maybe MS or something, or maybe they didn't have certain limbs.
Right.
And do you teach them differently? Yeah, you're going to have to teach them differently, especially let's say they didn't have the use of their legs and they were on a wheelchair. Could you still do taekwondo? Yeah, I think you can. There's so many aspects of taekwondo that is not always about the kick. I kind of say that's not. Anyways, a lot of it is kicking and punching, but then again, there's other aspects of it. We actually have a student that's injured and can't really kick. Doesn't mean that he couldn't participate and continue his taekwondo journey, right? I kind of think that as long as he's moving forward and he's being better. So yeah, but on the other hand, you also have maybe students that are on maybe a different spectrum, like as far as attention, ADHD, those kind of things. And how do you treat them? And it's just different. Like you could have a student and you could say 100 squat thrusts or 100 push-ups or whatever, and that might shape them up. And then you might have a student that won't respond to that anyway. Or you might have a student that responds better because you praise them, give them a pat on the back. It depends on that individual student, where they are in their life, I guess, right? And is it mostly adults? I mean, is it mostly children? Or do you also have those issues with adults? Because, when adults you don't really have mischiefs in a way. What I do kind of see sometimes is there, even like adults, we always want questions and ask questions, and it's like, hold on, I will never get past our class if you kept asking those kind of questions.
Right.
And that's their personality though, right? And that's okay. And then you've got certain students who just don't ask questions. I think a lot of people are more like that, but they don't want to question whether it's right or wrong, or they don't want to be put on the spot because they weren't prepared. So I don't know if we see that as much as adults, but you still have adults that have ADHD as well, right? I always kind of found that for me anyway, when we're dealing with students that are older, if you give them a hard workout, and it has nothing to do with taekwondo, and they'll come up to you and say, well, that was a great class. Like, we didn't do any taekwondo. We didn't kick, really. We didn't explain the technique or anything. It was just working out hard.
Right.
And that's good too. And then you can go on to explain something, and it could be really boring. And it could be boring for an adult. But definitely for sure, a younger student may not be able to sit there and listen to that.
Yeah.
I don't know if even adults cannot actually sit and listen to that. That's why our podcasts are only like 15 minutes.
Yeah, less than that.
Yeah, I can't even listen to a whole podcast that's an hour. Oh, no, I can, but it's...
But you have to do something else.
Yeah, you have to be doing something else, but it is hard. There's so many things going on in our lives today.
Right. All right, as always, don't forget to be safe.
Keep training.
And we'll see you guys next time.
Take one.